Welcome you, sir, for this wonderful session. For the meeting is reassessment and faceless assessment. இப்போ பார்த்தோம்னா நம்மளுக்கு 12, 13, 13, 14 கூட நோட்டீஸ் வந்துருக்கு 148. அதே மாதிரி 143 டூக்கு வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டிசம்பர்னு சொன்னாங்க, அப்புறம் மார்ச்னு சொன்னாங்க, இப்போ ஏப்ரல்னாங்க, இப்போ ஜூன். என்ன டைம் லிமிட்ல நம்மளுக்கு தெரியல. ஸோ திஸ் செமினார் இஸ் வெரி யூஸ்ஃபுல் டு அஸ். தேங்க்யூ சார், தேங்க்யூ வெரி மச்.
Thank you, Chairman. So Dr. C.A. Abhishek Murali sir is not new for us to our branch. He has spoken various seminars for our Tirupur branch. He was a secretary of SARC of ICA for the term 2020 and 21. He is a practicing chartered accountant. He is also an All India first rank holder in the CIMA strategy examinations and All India 17th rank in CIMA final examinations. Dr. C. Abhishek Murali is the youngest elected regional council member of the Southern India Regional Council of our institute for consecutive 2 terms from the year 2016 to 2022. He is an expert in direct taxation, indirect taxation, litigation, appeals, valuations, due diligence, merger and acquisitions. Dr. C. Abhishek Murali has organized and spoken at a lot of seminars, that is more than 1,500 seminars, workshops and conferences. Abhishek Murali was felicitated with the Gold Star Award by Padma Shri Dr. Mailusamy Annadurai, Director ISRO Satellite Center. He also received the Abraham Lincoln Excellence Award from the International Peace Council, USA. Dr. C. Abhishek Murali is a member of Committee for Implementation and Survey of the Faceless Assessment and Faceless Appeal Proceedings constituted by Ministry of Finance, Government of India. He has been nominated to various committees constituted by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, New Delhi, and he has also nominated for the various committees constituted by SARC of ICA, including Direct Tax, Indirect Tax, Public Relations Committee, etc. He has authored 5 books of professional interest. His book on overview of the Companies Act 2013 is well received in the corporate circle. His book Income Tax Ready Refresher and Taxation of Capital Gains are extensively used by our professionals and government officials. He has authored background material for Investor Awareness Refresher published by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And Dr. Abhishek Murali regularly contributes articles of professional interest in the online magazine like Tax Sutra and other leading online portals. Besides the professional interest, he also the executive committee member and also coordinators of various forums like Hindustan Chamber of Commerce and various NGOs. He is an active Rotarian and guest speaker in various colleges and universities. His profile is very large to read out. So with this great words, I request our today's speaker, Dr. C. Abhishek Murali, to address on the specific topic. Please, sir.
Thank you so much, Sithil Kumar sir. Very good afternoon to all the participants who have joined in today. The chairman of Tirupur branch, C.A. Murugesan, the secretary, C.S. Aruna Raja sir, chairman of CPE committee, who gave me a very kind introduction, C.A. Senthil Kumar sir, thank you very much. Past chairman, C.A. Ramu, and all other management committee members. I hope I have not missed anybody. I am not able to see in the large list of participants, but thank you so much for organizing this program. And most importantly, finally, all the participants. Thank you for this opportunity to once again address our beloved Tirupur branch. I must say, the Coimbatore, Tirupur, Erode belt, etc. is very close to our heart because a lot of our family is from there. So I repeatedly visit those parts of Tamil Nadu. And Tirupur branch is a very beloved branch, be it for my father when he was chairman and then went on to be in Central Council for many years. He used to always enjoy coming to Tirupur branch. And as a child also, I know because I used to come back, he used to come back with a lot of t-shirts that he used to get from all the factories over there. So I always have a special place for the members of Tirupur branch who have been so kind to me. So once again, it's a pleasure to address all of you on this very important topic. See, today's topic contains 2 parts. One, naturally, I have to talk about faceless assessment because last time when I visited Tirupur branch and we spoke about faceless assessment, I think it was a joint program with Salem and Pondicherry at the time. and that was more than a year back, when the faceless assessment was just getting started. No notice also was sent at the time. But today we are in a reality where all your notices you are getting is under the faceless assessment era. Not only that, you have also been receiving reopening notices under section 148. And not only that, just in the latest budget, our beloved finance minister, they have changed the provisions of the reopening of assessment. New provisions have been brought into effect. So therefore, a lot of confusion is there because the provisions have taken into effect after 1st April, the new provisions, but you are all getting notices pertaining to assessment year 13, 14, 12, 13, 14, 15. All of this is happening now. So much confusion is there. Sir, whether new provisions are applicable or is old provision applicable? Sir, if old provision is applicable, is it time barred? So a lot of these practical issues are there. In fact, the chairman also, before we started the program, raised that issue with me. So I will be covering that also. And not only that, I will be giving you case laws and practical examples how you should answer all those notices to easily win the cases. So I will be covering all these aspects in today's presentation. Now let me share my PPT on the screen. Chairman sir, please let me know if it is visible.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir. Visible.
Visible. Okay, excellent. So reopening of assessment and faceless assessment, my dear friends. As I already told you, faceless assessment today is a reality. 1 year back, when we were all discussing it, we used to say in the future, in the future, in the future. Today, no longer future, it is the present. And I can tell you one thing, I am part of the committee constituted by the Ministry of Finance for the purpose of giving suggestions and feedback. And every time, initially, when we used to meet, we used to give a lot of negative suggestions. We used to say that this is not working properly, that is not working properly, in the hope that they will change it back to physical assessment. Government, on the other hand, they used to say, not working, tell us more, tell us more. And so we used to keep on giving feedback. They started fixing it. So today, let me make it clear. Government, no matter what difficulty, they are clear. We want faceless assessment to succeed. You have issues, you tell us, we will fix it. So that is how they have been responding to all the feedback we are giving. So today it's a reality, my dear friends. There's no choice. We have to accept it for what it is. But I will also give you suggestions on how you can handle it more effectively. Now, needless to say, let me just quickly, without spending too much time on this, brief upon the change of this faceless. This is important because of reopening. You see, earlier we are all used to manual assessment, where either you or your client, he will get a physical notice. Notice will say, it has come from non-corporate ward so and so. This is the assessing officer. He is the so and so person. You have to come for a hearing on so and so date at such and such time. Your client will give you the notice. You will prepare written submissions. You will meet the officer, make your arguments, and based on those arguments, he will pass either a favorable order or an adverse order. This is how it has been done traditionally. No problem. They are all clear. Then they brought something known as email assessment. Please note the words that I'm using, my dear friends. I am saying email assessment, not e-assessment, not faceless assessment. I'll tell you why. See, when the 13th August they launched this faceless assessment scheme, we had been in the faceless pilot from 2019. I was very closely involved in the implementation. But throughout that time, up to 13th of August, any notice, unless you are part of the pilot project, was not covered under the faceless assessment. But wherever I spoke, chartered accountants used to say, Abhishek, I already handled a lot of cases in faceless. No, sir, that was email assessment, where you'll have the same e-proceeding tab, like how it is today. If you click on e-proceeding tab, you will get the list of cases, assessment year, notice number, all of that it comes. It used to come under email assessment tab also, but you had one more tab there. What was that tab? Do you want to handle this assessment physically? Yes or no? There will be two buttons. 95% of us will choose yes only. You want to do it. Who will take online when you can go meet that officer? He is giving you coffee, samosa, biscuit. Why will I say no to that and choose physical assessment? Somebody used to choose that. In one case, what happened? One difficult officer was there for the case you had. So I said, do you want to handle this assessment physically? I said, no, I don't want to handle physically. I want to handle online only. Next day morning, I got a phone call. Abhishek, are you handling this assessee case? Yes, sir, I'm handling. So I'm so and so assessing officer. I'm calling from this ward. You please come and meet me today. I said, sir, I've chosen online assessment. I have not chosen physical assessment. He said, no, despite that, you come. I said, sir, it is okay, sir. I will upload everything, whatever you need, you tell me. No, I want you to come today evening to my office. You please come at 4 o'clock. So whether I chose online assessment or whether I chose physical assessment, it ended up 95% of the cases was done before the physical jurisdictional assessing officer only. So it was considered failure, my friends. That project was considered a failure. That is why this faceless assessment scheme has been brought about. To brief the persons who are not aware, I am sure most of you must be aware. The key criteria under this faceless assessment scheme is your assessing officer in Tirupur or Chennai will no longer be, your assessee in Tirupur or Chennai will no longer be assessed by an assessing officer in Tirupur or Chennai. He will be assessed by somebody anywhere across the country. Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Kerala, somewhere. It does not matter. You don't know also. Not only that, my dear friends, every year it will keep on changing. It is a dynamic change. So it will keep on changing. It's done by the computer. It is done by the computer. So you cannot figure out. Even with great difficulty, if you find the person, you send him Deepavali sweets in hope that next year assessment will be better. No, it is not that person. That sweet will go to waste. Whether he eats it or not, it is going to go to waste, my dear friends, because every year it will keep on changing. So that brings me to my first very important point. And my dear friends, this is very important and I'll tell you why. Communication of notices. See, when it comes to communication of notices, especially most of you here are aware that I handle appeals, and in fact, many of you here itself have referred cases to me. So whoever has referred the cases to me will be aware that whenever I ask for the documents, I also ask for something known as what I call the ITR forms and the computation statement for each assessee. Now, this helps me understand the assessee's work better. But not only that, one thing I have seen while looking at these ITR forms is in most of the cases that I'm handling in appeals, the communication details are given are that of the auditor. Now, I don't have an objection of that being an auditor. It has not been a problem at all. But where the issue arises, I will tell you. 7 years back, there was a change which they brought. The government said against a single email ID or against a single mobile number, maximum of 10 PAN numbers only can be registered. Initially, it was 5, then they increased it to 10 PAN numbers. So, maximum 10 PAN numbers can be registered to a single mobile number or a single email ID. So, okay, no problem. No issues. But I'll tell you where the complexity comes. You see, under the faceless scheme, notices will be given only in 3 ways. It will be given only in 3 ways. What are the 3 ways? It will be given through email, through mobile application, or through SMS to the assessee. Now, this mobile application not yet developed by the department. Maybe over the next month or so, you may see it. But as it stands, there is only a mobile and email, either SMS and email. Only in these 2 ways you will get. I'm sure immediately most of you are thinking, Abhishek, 7 years back this came. Why you are telling now? Because whether it is under the faceless assessment or whether it is under physical assessment, we used to get the notices physically. My dear friends, now no longer you will get the physical assessments. You will no longer get physical notices. All your notices that you are getting will come only through the email. So the first thing you must do is update that contact details. When you log in to the income tax portal, one pop-up box will come. No, update the name, address, phone number. What we will do, 95% of us, including me, I will press the skip button only. We will not sit and update it. But a humble request, please update it. And I will tell you why. Some of the cases now that are being passed under faceless assessment that I'm handling on appeals, they are very harsh orders. Very harsh orders. You will not believe it, my dear friends. 2 hearings given opportunity. Both hearings, assessee has not responded. Best judgment assessment 144 done, order passed. Treating the entire sales equal to profit. What we have done, entire sales equal to profit. If any business is there like that, you tell me, we will all surrender practice and we will go and do that business where your entire sales is equal to profit, no expenses you have. But like that, orders are being passed under faceless assessment. When I asked the auditor, what happened? Why did not response come? He said, sir, they have sent it to the old email. They have sent it to the old mobile number. Some people have given Aircel email, Aircel phone number. Aircel company Modi, it's been so many years now. But the number still given is Aircel. In some cases, I have seen VSNL email ID. VSNL email ID. I cannot even remember. I was a child when VSNL closed down. Now that company is still, that VSNL email ID is still there for so many people. So when this is all happening, my dear friends, I can tell you one thing. Department are waiting to say, sir, we have served the notice. Assessee only didn't respond. It is not my fault. He has not updated his communication details. I'll tell you one more case that we handled where the assessee, he did not get the first notice. By chance, the auditor, he had logged into that email ID. He saw in pending proceedings, one proceeding was there and notice was already served, expired. So second opportunity they had given. By that time, by luck, just by luck, he happened to see that one proceeding is pending. So immediately what he did is he updated the contact details. He changed the mobile number. He changed the email ID. Despite this change, my dear friends, despite this change, all the subsequent notices went to the old one only. Department are saying when we started, the old one was there. So it is not our fault. You should have updated before itself. We already told everyone to update. You have not updated. You please update. And why I said you should not put the auditor's email ID is, as I told, maximum 10 PAN numbers only can be registered. So from the 11th client onwards, suppose I have 100 clients, first 10 clients I'll get notice perfectly, no problem. But from 11th person onwards, communication will not come. Department will say, served, we have given it on the assessee. Assessee has not responded. It's not our fault. Why he registered more than 10 PAN numbers? He should have given some other email ID. Ladies and gentlemen, department is waiting. They are waiting. So under faceless scheme, very, very strict orders are being passed. Very, very harsh orders are being passed. Best judgment assessment is being passed left, right, and center, saying notices have been served. Assessee has not responded. We can fight it out on appeal, no problem. But that 20% demand, that officer will call you and tell, no, sir, one client 20% kata solding, sir, appeal poranga immediate panna soldinga, otherwise we will freeze the account, we will attach the money. All these things will happen. So therefore, the most important thing, do not forget to update the contact details. Now 143.3a is the empowering section of this faceless assessment. It focuses on three particular items. You can see I've highlighted those three particular items. Eliminating the interface between the assessing officer and the assessee to the extent technologically feasible. So technology is the backbone. We are all very obvious of that. Second point, optimizing utilization of resources through economies of scale and functional specialization. Sir, this economies of scale, functional specialization, we studied in costing. When we were preparing for inter and final examination, we used to study economies of scale, functional specialization. You do all this, then you can do costing, will be able to bring it down. But where, sir, in Income Tax Act and all, now they are talking about economies of scale. I will explain. In the ensuing slide, you will understand why. Look at the third one. Introducing a team-based assessment with a dynamic jurisdiction. Dynamic jurisdiction, we all know. Our assessee in Tirupur will be assessed by somebody, Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta. Okay, no problem, it is clear. But sir, what do I mean? What do I mean by a team-based assessment? You will understand again in the next slide. You see, as far as the faceless scheme is concerned, there are two major wings. First wing being the National E-Assessment Center, the NEAC, which is there in Delhi. And then there's a regional e-assessment centers across the country. In the pilot stage, there were 8. Now there is almost 37 or 38 is there. It will keep on increasing depending on the necessity. But you don't have to bother about the REAC at all. You don't have to bother about NEAC also. For understanding the faceless scheme, it is enough if you understand what we call the 4 teams. We call it the 4 teams of the income tax. Now, what are these 4 teams and what do they do? The teams are, first you have the assessment unit, then you have something known as verification unit, then you have something known as a technical unit, and fourthly you have something known as a review unit. Now these are all very, very important units, because what is going to happen now is in each of these teams, you are going to have experts. So what does the assessment unit do? They identify the issues to be raised. They seek information and analyze the information. They draft the assessment order and send it. So all of this work the assessment unit does. Next, you have a verification unit. They will conduct inquiries. They will examine the books of accounts. They will record statements and they'll do cross-examination. Now, some of you will think, sir, why you need experts to do all this? I'll give you one example of a case that I handled. One assessee happened to be admitting agricultural income. They had some agricultural land. He was admitting agricultural income. Almost for 10 years, he has been admitting, no problem. This year also taken up for scrutiny. Assessee has given Adangal Chitta from the Tahsildar certified everything he has given. Then what happens? Scrutiny order passed, no additions made. 4 years later, reopening of assessment term. When reopening was done, the auditor filed the written response. He asked for the reasons and then he gave the case to me. Now, when he asked for the reasons, the reason given for reopening, they said the Tahsildar, he has changed his opinion. Initially, he gave a certificate saying it's a agricultural land, so and so crops were grown there. But now he has said that that statement he gave was wrong. Actually, the land is a puncture land, Porambok land. Nothing can be grown on that. So he has withdrawn the original statement. So the first thing I did is I asked for a cross-examination. I wanted to cross-examine that Tahsildar. And interestingly, in the course of the cross-examination, this happened. I went with the assessee staff and the department person was there. The assessing officer was there. Of course, the Tahsildar was present. The first thing I asked, I said, sir, you have given a certificate like this. In the மாதிரி ஒரு certificate கொடுத்திருக்கீங்க. எதனால அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு certificate கொடுத்தீங்க? That assessing officer said, the Tahsildar said, assessee told me he is going for a loan. Assessee said he is going for a loan that time. So I gave a certificate that he's given, he's got agricultural income. Now, first of all, who will give a loan based on agricultural income? I don't know. That too, hardly any agriculture, 1 lakh something it was there. So based on that, who will give a loan? I don't know. Secondly, I asked this Tahsildar straight away, sir, whether your job requires you to give certificate to whoever is saying they're going for a loan, or whether you will give a certificate on the reality. Yes, sir, like this only I've given for some people, he said. I said, sir, 1 second. Do you know that by giving the certificate, if we complain against you, vigilance action will be initiated? Immediately the Tahsildar got jittery. He said, sir, on the very statement I am withdrawing. Department put pressure on me, so I gave a statement. Really, today I am retired. I don't want anything to happen. Please don't initiate vigilance and all against me. The moment this happened, that assessing officer, she stopped the cross-examination. She said, you cannot do cross-examination. I said, why not? She said, assessee has to be present. I said, assessee staff is here. That is enough. No, assessee has to be present. I said, show where in the act it requires assessee to be present. She's struggling. Then she said, no, you know what? We will do the cross-examination. Again, we'll continue it after 4 or 5 days. You come after 4 or 5 days, we'll do it then. So I said, okay, fine. So I left the room. Next day morning, that assessee has got an order. Order says, Tahsildar has given a statement. We have conducted a cross-examination. Assessee has not appeared. So therefore, order passed. After we left the room, they have called the Tahsildar back. Behind the back of the assessee, they have taken a statement saying that nobody has come. Whatever I said is true. So therefore, order passed. Now this has really happened, my friends. And luckily, what happens whenever I do a cross-examination, I record the cross-examination. I record the cross-examination by audio. So I had the audio proof. When it went on appeal, the case was very easily won. But the point is this: it is not the point of this is not the fact that we won the case in the appeal, but the point is that assessing officer did not know how to cross-examine. Now I cross-examined the Tahsildar on those points. If that assessing officer had asked that assessee staff few questions, sir, you are growing this agricultural crops. What crops you are growing? When is the harvest season? What fertilizers you are using? Whether you are selling this to persons in the nearby area or some other area, how you are collecting the money from them, who do you sell it to? Can I call that person and cross-examine? These 4 or 5 questions, if that assessing officer had asked, that case would have been lost. That assessee staff, they would not have an answer. Cross-examination over, case addition can be made, case will be closed, they will win the case easily. But because they did not know the provisions, they did not know how to conduct cross-examination, we stand to gain by their mistake. So now the verification unit will have experts who will know how to cross-examine. A person who's an expert in cross-examination will know how to trap the person. They'll know how to trap the assessee, how to trap the other party while asking questions. So now verification unit will have experts who will be doing this. Next, you have a technical unit. And my dear friends, this technical unit and review unit is going to be the deal breaker for the department. I'll tell you why. The technical unit department earlier, they did not have technical expertise. Some assessing officers they will know, but many assessing officers they won't know the technical point. So what they will do, they will ask you, they will ask some other auditor who is their good friend. They may ask their neighbor assessing officer who is there in the next room. Sometimes that own assessee's auditor itself they'll ask, sir, நீங்களே சொல்லுங்க சார் என்ன பண்ணணும் இந்த கேஸ்ல அது என்னன்னு just explain பண்ணுங்க. This is what was happening in reality. This is all reality. I am not making imaginary situation. One case that I handle, I will tell you. In this case, the assessee is a loss-making automobile company, loss-making automobile private limited company. Assessing officer asked for 25 items. Out of those 25 items, 21 items are given. 4 items assessee could not give. Auditor told, sir, assessee had flood. In Chennai, we had floods that year. Some floods have been affected the assessee's factory. So he has asked for the duplicate copy from Korea. Once the invoice copy comes, we will definitely give it to you, sir. You give us 4 days time. I will not give 4 days, maximum 3 days I will give you. If you come and give, I will pass the order. If not, I will pass adverse order. So assessee, he could not get it in 3 days. 4th day he came and gave. Assessing officer said, nothing doing, order already passed பண்ணியாச்சு, நீங்க wait பண்ணுங்க order. So finally when the order received, this is what the order said. Assessee was sought for some information. Assessee has not given the information. Hence best judgment assessment done. That also how they have done best judgment assessment. Sales is X amount, several crores it was sales. On that presumptive taxation 44 AD, 8% is the profit. Therefore, he has to pay tax on that profit. Assessee is in second year of operations, hugely loss making. That assessee is saying, sir, even if I had profits, even if I'm doing best business, maximum profits I can have is only 4%, sir. It is impossible for me to have 8% profit. How you are expecting me to pay tax when I'm making losses? So when this case came to me, I told the auditor, sir, don't worry, first hearing will win the case. How is when he went to the commissioner appeals, we had to make only one point. So presumptive taxation is not applicable to companies. It is meant for small taxpayers, individuals, partnership firms, all these sort of persons it is meant for. It is not meant for large private limited companies that are subject to tax audit. That commissioner appeals is shocked. He's saying, who passed this order? How can they pass an order like this? Then even I got interested, even though the case was won, I was interested why that order was passed like that. So I asked that auditor whether that assessing officer does not like the assessee, whether he does not like the auditor, why he passed an order like this, was he expecting anything, what is the issue that he had, etc. Then when we did further research, we found that assessing officer was in exemptions ward. For almost 12 to 14 years, that assessing officer was in exemptions ward. After 14 years, suddenly he has been transferred to corporate ward 1 month before time barring date. 60 assessees he has under his jurisdiction under corporate ward. That assessing officer, he has been doing only non-corporate cases, only for trust cases, charitable society cases. He does not know how to assess corporate assessees. So within 1 month, he has to learn the provisions of corporate taxation. He has to be updated how to raise issues. Then he has to raise the specific issues for each of the clients, for each of the assessees that he has. And then issue show cause notice, get the response, file a response in notice to that, send a second show cause notice, get a response, pass the responses, give a personal hearing, then pass a effective assessment order. Like this in less than 1 month he has to do. For 60 assessees he needs to do this. Whether it is practically possible at all? In my view, it is a huge credit to the department that our assessing officer, despite this difficulty, they are passing orders. But what happens in the process is lot of poor assessment orders get passed. One example is the order I gave you, where it was very easily winnable in my favor. But the reverse also happens, where orders are passed so badly. In one case which we handled, they have taken a joint development agreement, joint venture agreement between assessee and another party. The assessee said, I am giving some amount of money, and the other party is the developer. It is not a JDA, it is a joint venture. They said the other person, the developer, whether he completes the project or not in 3 years, he has to give me X plus 50 rupees. So that was the agreement. Then what happened? Real estate market crashed. That developer could not even construct one building, forget selling it and collecting and to pay this person. So they came with a second agreement saying whenever he sells it, that time if he pays me enough. Department did not look at the second agreement. They said first agreement only. That person, you are given X amount of money, which was actually running into several crores. He said you are given so many crores, you have got back so many crores, entire amount I'm adding as interest income for you. Income from other sources. Pay the tax. Assessee is shocked. He's saying, sir, I have given my money to him. I am trapped. He has not even finished constructing. How I will get, how he will sell it and how will I collect money? We have second agreement saying whenever he sells, you go to the property, you can take a photo somewhere near Trichy. He said, you take the photo. You can see that the property is not completed. In fact, that promoter of that company, he went into so much financial difficulty that he almost was depressed. He closed the company almost. All this happened. How can I pay the tax when already I have outflow? No inflow I am having. How will I pay the tax? Department refused to listen. He went on appeal up to ITAT, had to put lot of pressure, put stay petition, all of that, and we managed to give life to the case. But the point remains to pay even that 20%. To even pay that 20% of the tax, assessees sometimes don't have the money. But orders are being passed very, very badly. Sir, all of these are simple issues. You take complex issues like 54F, joint development agreement, all of these issues, poor orders are being passed because of lack of technical knowledge. And this is where the technical unit is going to come in. Sir, Rasiappan sir, please mute, sir. I think your it is unmuted. Or maybe the organizers can mute him because it will disturb all the other participants otherwise. Thank you. Thank you so much. So as I said, the technical unit is a deal breaker because now if you have doubt in capital gains matter, they will have a capital gains team. You have a doubt in accounting matter, they will have accounting team. You have a doubt in real estate transaction, they will have a real estate transaction team. So the department itself will have their own in-house experts where you can refer to wherever you have doubts. You put a summary, you send it to them, they will respond saying you allow this, you disallow this, like that the experts will respond to you. So look at the change. Earlier they used to come to the auditor. Now in-house itself they are having the experts. Even the fourth team, the review unit is also a deal breaker because especially someone who handles appeals. Whenever we draft an appeal, however favorable or unfavorable the case is, we never start our grounds of appeal on the merits of the case. We always start it only on the technical points. What do I mean by that? I will give you an example. Reopening of assessment. If you get a notice under section 148, what is the procedure to be followed? The procedure is a judge-made law. CIT versus GK and Driveshaft have laid down the procedure that needs to be followed whenever reopening of assessment is done. What is the procedure? When you get a notice under section 148, first you must file a return in response to the notice. First, you have to file a return in response to the notice. After filing the return in response to the notice, second, you can ask for the reasons for reopening. 3. Assessing officer must provide the assessee the reasons for reopening. 4. The assessee can raise his objections to the reasons for reopening. 5. The assessing officer is duty bound to dispose of these reasons or dispose of these objections to the reasons with a speaking order. Only after all of these 5 steps are done, then only he can start the reassessment proceedings itself. In many cases, one case which we handled where we had asked for reasons for reopening, reasons are given, we raised the objections were not disposed of. On merit, additions were made. Actually, if you see the assessee, you will see, sir, pakka fraud. If you read the facts of the case, you won't even ask for details. You'll say, sir, this fellow is 100% fraud, no need to go into any details. But when he went on appeal, he said, we have asked for reasons, we have raised the objections against the reasons. It has not been disposed of. The tribunal did not even look at the merits. They did not even care. 5 additions made, everything valid. They didn't even bother. They said, you have not followed the procedure laid down in law. Hence, therefore, it has been struck down. The order is void. They dismissed the department order. Now, this is where the review unit will come into play. One more order. 18 additions made. 18 additions made for one assessee. The length of the order is 2 pages, front and back. That's all. For 18 additions, front and back. By the time you write the beginning, assessee filed the return on so and so, notice was issued. Like this itself, one page will finish. How he made 18 additions in 2 pages, I don't know. But order is passed like that. When he went on appeal, we said it's a non-speaking order. Remand to the assessing officer. We had one more opportunity. Old officer was transferred, new person has come. New life has been given to the case. Now, why this is all important? See, sometimes certain assessing officers, they are not skilled when it comes to drafting. When they are drafting that assessment order, they don't have the skill in drafting the assessment order. They will see the law, they will see the facts, they will know whether it is right or wrong, they will pass an order. On merits, it will be correct, but technically, on the technical points, it will be lacking. And that is where in appeal we used to win so many cases, even though merit was against us. The technical points used to be in favor. Now they have a review unit. This review unit, they will see each order, they will see all the assessment orders, and they will tell what are the changes. He has asked for reasons for reopening. Have you given? Sir, we gave the reasons. They've raised the objections. Have you disposed of objections? I don't have to dispose. The case is in department favor. You will easily win. Then they will tell them, sir, you please pass an order only after disposing of their objections. So give them another opportunity. So this is what the review unit is going to do. They are going to step in and help in the technical compliances that was earlier not done by anybody. So of course, the procedure, I'm sure most of you are familiar with it, but we must definitely understand it very, very quickly. I'll not spend too much time because I want to spend time on the reopening of assessment. But why I'm saying is we may think poo mari, but we don't know what poo it is. So therefore, what chart that you see on your screen, that is the entire faceless assessment at a glance. If you look at this chart, whenever you have a doubt, any case that you're getting, a notice you are getting, if you put it into this chart, you just follow this chart, you'll be able to handle any case. Because when I got the original draft of the faceless assessment, it was all in paragraphs. It was very difficult to understand. If I go to page number 16, it will refer to page 2. Page 3 will refer to page 48. When I go to page 48, it will refer to page number 19. So it was so much my head was spinning that after reading multiple times, I came with a compressed chart so that on a single glance, you will be able to read it and appreciate this chart. Now, I see a lot of questions have already started coming on the chat box. And I request everyone, please keep posting. At every stage, whenever I'm discussing anything, you post your question in the chat box. I will 100% take every single question at the end of the session without fail. Don't worry, all the questions I will take at the end of the session. Keep on posting in the chat box. And in the end also, if you want, you can unmute and ask your doubts. So ladies and gentlemen, you can see in the middle or the NEAC. The NEAC is the brain when it comes to this faceless assessment because they will only issue the notice. So the first notice is served by the NEAC. As an assessee, we will submit the response to the NEAC only, and the NEAC will assign the case to an assessment unit. The assessment unit, if they want more information, they have to ask the NEAC only. They cannot ask the assessee directly. So they will ask NEAC. NEAC will send another notice to the assessee. The assessee will once again respond to the NEAC. NEAC will forward this to the assessment unit. When they want verification to be done, let us assume I have agricultural land somewhere in the outskirts of Chennai, in Sriperumbudur, I have an agricultural land. Now all my documents, my sale deed, my proof, Adangal Chitta, everything will be in Tamil. If this goes to an assessing officer in Delhi, whether he'll be able to understand? Sir, our institute itself, if you call Delhi, they are speaking only in Hindi. They are not even understanding English. So therefore, if you expect an assessing officer in Delhi to understand whether it is possible at all, you want him to translate your sale deed for you. He's not going to do it. So what will happen over here? They will send to NEAC. Sir, yes, ab Tamil mein hai, sir. You please translate it. So they will send it to a Tamil unit, or they will send it to a Tamil assessing officer who will translate it for them, and he will give the translated document based on which they will pass the order. Then they may ask technical assistance. Now this technical assistance also, please note, when they are asking for more information, when they're asking for verification or translation to be done, when they're asking for technical assistance, all of this is not being done by the assessment unit with the other unit. Every time they need anything, they will send it to NEAC only. NEAC is like the broker. So he is the most powerful person. So everything will go to NEAC. NEAC will be forwarding it to the respective persons. And whenever they get the reports back from that respective units, they will forward it to the assessment unit. Similarly, after all of this, Draft order passed, it will go to the review unit. Review unit will give their suggestions that they will incorporate it. Even after that stage, now this is the interesting point. Assessment unit work is done. Verification unit work is done. Technical unit work is done. Review unit also work is done. After all of these also, they are passing only what is a draft assessment order. But why? Why are they passing a draft assessment order? Because, my friends, we have been fighting for this for a very long time. We have been fighting for a very long time. What happened in one case? On SSE, penny stock matter. All penny stock issues became a huge issue across India, where if you traded penny stock, whether genuine or not genuine, they are going to make addition. That was the decision made by the government and the department across India. Across India, they have done this. In one SSE's case that I was handling, he got a tip from his friend saying, "You buy the share, it will go up." So he bought that share. What happened? The short price went up because it is an artificial inflation through penny stock. The moment it slightly started rising itself, this fellow sold it and he took the profits. He did not even sell it at the peak. But department said penny stock, so you have to tax. Sir, we had 8 hearings. I had 8 hearings with that assessing officer and multiple show cause notices, 3 show cause notices issued. I had samosa, chai, juice and all I had with that assessing officer. And at the end, I told the assessee, sir, for them, they have pressure from CBDT that they have to make the addition. So penny stock issue, they'll likely make an addition there. Assessee also said, yes, Abhishek, it is my fault only. I am ready. Assessment order passed. 2 additions. First addition, disallowance of long-term capital gains because of penny stock. Okay, no problem. Second addition made. What they said, sir, second addition, unexplained movement in capital. Assessee's capital has increased by 95 lakhs. Assessee has not been able to justify. Sir, 8 hearings, 3 show cause notices. Multiple times we had coffee, juice and all. No point of time was the movement in capital ever questioned. In fact, the movement in capital is a majority of a LIC policy. TDS also department has deducted on that. So Assessee is saying, sir, if they asked, I would have given proof, everything is there. But department did not ask. But when order is passed, they have made an addition. Maybe some target issue, joint commissioner pressure, all of this, whatever it is, it can be. But addition has been made. Now here, unfortunately, as an assessee, the only solution that you have is an appeal. Because it is not an error apparent on record. You cannot go under 154. There's no other way for you to ask them to modify that order. So you have to go only on appeal. But in this assessee's case, he wanted to take the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme because of the penny stock. But you know, when 2 additions are there under the Vivad scheme, you cannot choose only one. You have to go on the whole order or you cannot go under the scheme. So this assessee, we had to fight it out on appeal when actually the second addition we could have easily justified. Now, why I gave you this example? This is only one case. There are so many number of cases across the country where orders are being passed with additions made behind the back of the assessee. So we have been constantly making representation saying a final opportunity must be given before the order is passed. And that is why under this faceless scheme, even after the 4 units, they will pass what is a draft assessment order and they will send you a final show cause notice. They will say, we are going to make the following additions. Do you have any objections over here? You please submit your objections if any, then only we will pass an assessment order. Now some of you may feel, sir, this final show cause notice summa dane. Really, are they giving you an opportunity? Simply just to show as if they are giving, is it a dummy thing? Simply for formality are they giving? Sir, let me clarify. This happened with my own personal case. One client of mine, he had chosen to handle the case himself because his auditor was out of town. He said, okay, I myself will respond. He has responded to all the notices himself. He has not handled it properly. Then when the final show cause notice came, making we are going to make so many crores of addition, the gentleman came to me. He said, sir, what do we do? I said, you know what? Final show cause notice has come. We will submit as if we are responding to the first one. So all invoices, agreements, photos of various documents I have uploaded at the final show cause notice stage. What normally you should have given at the first itself. In the final show cause notice, when they have very clearly, they have put extracts from the assessment order saying so and so additions we are going to make. In fact, penalty also they are going to levy, he brought about when putting the extract in the final show cause notice. So that amount of drafting is fully ready. They are just waiting for a response. In our response, we have given such a detailed document. What happened? I was pleasantly surprised to find the final order was passed with 0 additions. So therefore, what does this mean? Even at the final show cause notice stage, it is a real opportunity. It's not simply formality. Even when the final show cause notice is given, it's a real opportunity given to the assessee for you to justify your case and fight it out. Even at the final stage, they are ready to listen, even though the order is drafted and ready. After 4 units, they prepared the order and kept it ready. At that stage, you are coming and saying everything is wrong. They are ready to accept if the facts are correct. So therefore, it's an excellent step. Our implementation of what we have been suggesting has been finally done. And only after this will they pass a final assessment order. Now, this is the entire faceless scheme at a glance. Once you look at it, you will be able to easily appreciate it. So therefore, now it has come to the most important part of the session, which is the reopening of assessment. Now, for the last 45 minutes, I've been seeing faceless, faceless, faceless. I've been seeing. How many of you have got the notices for reopening from your jurisdictional assessing officer? All the hands will go up because none of you would have got it from faceless assessment. None of you have got it from NEAC. Every single person has got the notices under section 148 for reopening under the physical jurisdictional assessing officer. Physically, you may have been served in some cases as well, not only by email, but physical notice also you have got. So you'll be saying, Abhishek, இவ்வளவு நேரம் faceless சொன்னீங்க. It's like got கைப்புலஸ் அது போன வாரம் நான் சொல்றது இப்போ இந்த வாரம். Because when it comes to faceless assessment, my dear friends, it is correct, it is faceless, but when it comes to reopening, there is a role of the physical jurisdictional assessing officer. And I will tell you how. And I will tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, we discussed what are the steps involved, what is the procedure on how to respond if you get a notice under section 148. Quickly to re-jog your memory. When notice comes, file a return in response to the notice. After you file the return in response, ask for reasons for reopening. After you ask for reasons for reopening, assessing officer must give reasons. Then you can raise your objections against the reasons. He has to dispose of these objections, and then only he can start the reassessment proceedings. This and all we are all clear, my dear friends. But why it is important over here? Because now, if you got a reopening of assessment, when you put submit in response to that reopening, it will give you an option to file your return of income. Yes or no? When you go to e-proceeding tab, you select the assessment here. If you select the assessment here for reopening, it will be submit one button will be there. When you click on submit, what will happen? It will say file a return. That return filing page it will come to where you have to select the assessment here, file the return of income, etc. If you have digital signature, apply the digital signature and file it. Now, after you file the return, what is the next step? You have to ask the reasons for reopening. If you go to that button, once again, the same assessment here, you click on submit. Once again, it will take you to the return filing page only. It does not take you to an option to ask for reasons for reopening. When you click on submit, straight away it says file the return. You have already filed the return, but every time you click it, it will say file return only. So what does this mean? My dear friends, very, very, very important point. How you need to handle faceless assessments and how you need to handle reopening of assessment under faceless assessment era. The moment you submit your return in response to the notice, please ask for reasons for reopening to your jurisdictional assessing officer. Whoever has sent you that 148 notice, ask that person for the reason for reopening. How will you ask? You cannot go to that submit button and ask. It will not allow you to. So you have to do it in Tapal. Put a draft a letter, send it to Tapal, get the chop, get the seal, put it in your file. Now, of course, in Tirupur, Coimbatore, COVID is bad. So you don't want to go physically. What you should do? Send it by email. Send it by email. Where you will file jurisdictional assessing officer email, go to your profile under income tax portal. You go to my profile, see the list of things there. You will have the address of the assessing officer along with the email. Send the email to that assessing officer, print out that email copy and put it in your file to show that you have asked for the reasons for reopening. And I will tell you why, my dear friends. The 5 steps before the reassessment starts is all going to be done by your jurisdictional assessing officer only. It is not going to be done by faceless. When you ask for reasons for reopening, you have to ask your jurisdictional officer. He will give you the reasons. When you raise your objections, raise it to your jurisdictional assessing officer. He will dispose of the objections. Now, only after all of this, when the first notice comes under 143.2 or 142.1, Only at that stage it will transfer to faceless assessment. Till then, it will be with your physical assessing officer, the same fellow who is there in Tirupur, the same madam who is there in Tirupur, the same person will be assessing your assessee till he finishes disposing of the objections for the reasons for reopening. Only after that it will transfer to the faceless regime. Till then, it will be with your jurisdictional assessing officer. So put all your responses on record, put a tapal proof, put a email proof, print it and keep it in your file so that you can justify that you have asked for the reasons for reopening, even if they don't give it. So that in appeal, it will be extremely useful for you. Now we have to quickly understand the new provisions also. Because the most common doubt that I get asked is Abhishek, assessment year 13-14 notice I have got now. Assessment year 13-14. We all know under the old regime, you can reopen to a maximum of 6 years in non-such cases. So when you are opening for 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year 2013-14 means 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year means 31st March 2020. After 31st March 2020 for that assessment year, they cannot send notices even if they want to. But you are getting notices dated 3rd April 2021, 6th April 2021. Even today you will be getting notices. Why? Whether it is coming under the new scheme or whether it is coming under the old scheme. It is still coming under the old scheme, my dear friends. Because under the old scheme, this is the example of the notice. Look at the assessment year. Assessment year 13-14. Look at the date they have sent it. 7th April 2021. So what you should do in this case? My dear friends, this is a very important point. Because many of you may have already responded to this. Many of you may not have responded. Whether you have done that or not, please do what I'm saying. The first thing you must note is that if you ask the department why you have issued this notice, they will tell dates extended. They have said that we can reopen up to 30th of June. Government have extended the date up to 30th of June. Sir, for assessee, return filing date 31st January, how much pressure we were on? Server was down, website was not working. We are requesting please extend. They are saying we want to instill financial discipline. We will not extend the date and all. Everyone has to file on time when the server is not working. Whereas when it comes to the department, let them, Corona is there, COVID is there, we'll give them extra time. We'll give them till 30th April. Oh, Corona is getting worse. We will give them time till 30th of June. I don't understand whether department has different Corona and assessees have different Corona. Why they are getting multiple extensions, whereas the assessee does not get an extension at all. In fact, for the year in question, the time for the assessee to do anything elapsed more than a year back, my dear friends. It elapsed more than a year back. Whereas for the department, constant extensions are being given. So what does this mean? When you get a notice like this, the first thing you must write is prepare a letter and say it is time bar. 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year ends on 31st March 2020. They should not issue a notice after that date. It is time barred, hence invalid. Now they will say the date is extended. Your argument, maybe they have extended the due date. Government now also extended the due date, you may say. But my dear friends, as I told you, the extension is highly unfair. The extension is highly unfair. It goes against the natural principles of justice. If they are extending the date for the department, for assessee also date should be extended. You cannot say for me date will not be extended, but for them, you can extend the date. Sir, it is not like that. When it goes to the courts, I have a strong feeling it will be held in favor of the assessee. So what you must do is at least put it on record. Put it on record that the notice is invalid so that you can fight it against a later date. So first thing you do, raise a letter like this, but don't leave it. Don't raise a letter like this and leave it. Okay, invalid, it will be confirmed invalid. First you raise the letter. Then you comply. Then you file the return in response. You ask for the reasons. All of that you do. I'm not saying don't do that, but raise this letter. So now let us come to the second part of it. Sir, I already responded. So this letter came to me in April. So I already responded. Now only I am seeing your CPE seminar. You are telling you raise this issue, saying it is time barred. What do I do? Sir, write that letter now. Put it on record. Keep a record of it. If at appeal also you can raise this issue. But when you raise it at the time of the assessment itself, it gives you strength in your arguments. So please put a record, irrespective of what the judgment is, irrespective of what government or assessing officer says, please put on record saying it is time barred, so therefore the notice is infructuous. The notice is invalid. So please do that. Now let us come to the second type of notice that is being issued. This is also, both these notices that I'm showing you are actual notices we have received. Now for this assessing question, you see the notice date. Assessment year 15-16, dated 30th April 2021. Whether it is time barred, it is not time barred because up to 6 years they can reopen. So assessment year 15-16 means 31st March 2022. Up to that they have time. On 30th March 2021 itself they have issued. So therefore it is valid. But one more point is there, sir. Please wait. What is the one more point? Sir, when there is a reopening beyond 4 years, there is two criteria that have to be satisfied. Criteria number one, the income sought to be evaded is at least rupees 1 lakh or more. And criteria number two, the approval should be obtained from a joint commissioner of income tax at least, not lower than the joint commissioner of income tax. My dear friends, in the previous page, where it has been reopened for 6 years or beyond 6 years, look very clearly what they have put in the last line over here on the screen. The notice is being issued after the necessary satisfaction from the Principal Commissioner of Income Tax, Chennai 8. They have put over here. Now look at this next page over here. The notice is being issued after obtaining the necessary satisfaction of non-corporate range for Chennai. My dear friends, what is non-corporate range 4? Is there any position called non-corporate range 4? Is there an officer? It does not even say assessing officer. It does not say assistant commissioner. It does not say joint commissioner principal. Nothing is there. Whereas in the previous order, very clearly they have stated it is a principal commissioner. Now, if this reopening was within 4 years, then they can say, sir, assessing officer itself can do. Why we need approval of joint commissioner and above? Sir, you may be correct. But in this case, you need the approval. And you have not told me who has approved it. Therefore, it is invalid. Now, in fact, when I went to the commissioner, when I went to the assessing officer in this case, I asked him because he's a personal friend. I said, sir, whether it is valid. He said, off the record, we have taken a decision that this is what we are going to do. This is enough for us. So if you want to raise this issue, you can raise it, but we will consider it a non-issue and we will proceed with the reassessment. So once again, we are in a quandary what we should do. Because if we don't file a return, if we don't comply with the procedures of reopening, they will say best judgment assessment, assessee has not given. So what you should do in this case? Once again, please raise the issue. File a return in response, that and all you can do. But first write a letter saying the notice is infructuous. It has not got the proper approval. The proper sanctioning authority has not sanctioned it. Hence the notice is invalid. Let them issue a fresh notice if they want to. If they don't, in appeal at least you can win this case very easily. But put it on record. Please put it on record that the proper authority has not approved the reopening of the assessment. So therefore the reassessment itself is invalid by itself. Put that letter, then you comply with the proceedings, then you file a return, then you ask for reasons for reopening. Please follow these steps, my dear friends. These are practical important tips with a practical example of the notice itself on your screen. Many of you would have got these notices. Sometimes you will not see who's the approving person. You may not see the date also in some cases, but please ensure you check for all of your cases. I'll tell you why. The reason the date is being extended by the department repeatedly, by the government repeatedly, is because the department is in a hurry. They are making mistakes like this. This mistake would have not happened if they were not in a hurry, but because they are in an urgency, because they are in a hurry, they are not getting the proper approvals, they are not documenting it properly, and therefore they are just sending reopening assessment notices left, right, and center. And even though they have extended the date to 30th June, hardly anyone is working in the last 3-4 weeks. So you can be sure all the notices will be in a hurry. Unless you raise the issue now, you may not have a strong ground when you go on an appeal. So please raise the no issues that I just told you. And that brings me to the new provisions, my dear friends. Now, this is very, very important because when our Honorable Finance Minister was presenting the budget, the way it came out is we are reducing the reopening period from 6 years all the way down to 3 years. Oh, excellent. Only 3 years they can reopen. But we have to read the fine lines, and I will tell you why. You see, the first thing is the old provision. It was worded like this. If the assessing officer has reason to believe that any income chargeable to tax has escaped assessment, this reason to believe word is a very, very powerful word. Under the latest amendment for the new reopening of assessment, they have removed this reason to believe. Now they have said, if any income chargeable to tax has escaped assessment where information suggests that it may have escaped tax, then we can go for reopening. My dear friends, reasons for reopening has been removed. Sorry, reason to believe has been removed. Instead, they have said where information suggests that income will be escaping assessment, then we can reopen. This is first of all a very, very strong change. Now, the second change you see, and any new issue comes to his notice subsequently during the course of the proceedings, irrespective of whether section 148 is complied with, then it can be added in the course of the assessment. Now, what is the section 148A? Now, section 148A codifies one thing. See, under the new reopening rules, there is one very interesting rule. This is a good move where they have said before the notice under section 148 is issued to the assessee, he will be first given a show cause notice to say why notice should not be issued. With the reasons, he will be given the show cause notice saying why it should not be reopened. So you can fight it at that stage itself and say it has already been examined, it should not be reopened, etc. Then only after that hearing only they will send the notice itself. Currently now they will send the notice, you have to file the return, then only you can ask for reasons. Now they have changed the procedure beneficially. Now that is a good change. But this change, what you see in the second box on the right hand side, any new issue comes to his notice in the course of the proceedings, then he need not comply with the original provisions. Now, one technical point we used to fight is case is reopened. Let us assume your assessee case has been reopened for the purposes of making an addition in capital gains. He has sold a property, some information has come to light that he has given underquoted the sale consideration. So they have gone for the reopening of the assessment based on that. Now, in the course of your assessment proceedings, suddenly he adds, assessee has also earned income from other sources. So we are adding another 20,000 there. We are adding another 20 lakhs over there, income from other sources. Like that they are adding. Now, one point we used to fight is the reopening pertains only to capital gains. You cannot go beyond that. Where the addition pertains to capital gains, you cannot go beyond capital gains. If you want to go beyond, you send a fresh notice saying this is also something we are going to check. So you cannot go beyond the matter why the matter was reopened. This is a very, very important case for us where it was given beneficially for the assessee that the reopening will be restricted only to the reasons for reopening. But now, under this new scheme, they are saying original notice can be capital gains. But suppose while we are doing assessment, we have come to know salary income, we have come to know house property income or some other income, then that income also we can add. We don't have to send you a fresh reopening notice. In the course of the proceeding itself, we'll keep on going and adding. I'll tell you why this is very, very important, my dear friends. See, when you are filing a return in response to the assessment, whether now old scheme or new scheme, you have got a notice under 148. You will file a return in response first. When you are filing a return in response, please note it is a new opportunity for you to come clean. It is a new opportunity for you to come clean. That means when I'm filing a return in response to the notice, suppose I know I have not given the adequate income. Suppose I know that I should have offered more. That is why they are making this reopening. Then when filing the return itself, I can add that amount and offer that amount, and I can pay the tax along with interest at the time. If I do that, I can avoid the addition that will come under assessment, and therefore the taxation of 60%, 65%, etc. I can also avoid the penalty. My dear friends, this is a very, very important thing. That is why they say filing a return in response to your 148 is like a new life. It is like a fresh opportunity for you. But under this new scheme, when they are saying for wherever new addition is being made,
Every time in the old scheme, they have to send you a reopening assessment so that you can file a new return. You can offer that additional amount if you want. But under this new scheme, they are saying, suppose it comes to light during the assessment, then we can just go ahead and make the addition, no question asked. So that is a very, very strong change that they have done. Now, I told you, reason to believe was very strong. If you take that reason to believe itself, you will find hundreds of case laws, hundreds of landmark case laws. What is reason to believe? Suppose I'm walking down the road, our chairman is there, his neighbor is walking opposite me. I'm an assisting officer. That neighbor is saying, சார் அந்த திருப்பூர் சேர்மன் பார்த்துருக்கீங்களா அவர் வீட்டில் வந்து பெரிய கோல்டு பெட்ல பார்த்துக்காரு சார் அந்த பெட்ல வந்து மேட்ரஸ் ஃபுல்லா கேஷ் இருக்குமா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு he is just walking down the road. I'm an assisting officer, I'm walking next to him. I hear this information. Then I say, okay, I'm going to reopen the assessment. Can I reopen? Do I have reason to believe? So they have held very, very strongly. Reason to believe cannot be rumors. It cannot be gossip. Like this person walking next to you, he's saying something. Does not make it true. You must have some substantial, concrete evidence to have a reason to believe. You cannot simply do it on a whim because you don't like the person, because his neighbor was talking on the road. All that you cannot use as a reason to believe. The reason to believe must be real. It must be real. So therefore, this new change is very, very shocking because now they have said on a where the information suggests. What is suggestion? You have to ask what is suggestion. And so maybe we can go read that fellow. Is that a suggestion? Suppose I am coming to the assisting officer's room and saying, sir, that person, Ambani is there. I think he has some money. Can we go and read? Why don't I suggest to you? Please read. So what is the suggestion? Please note these 3 points. It is very, very important because they are very strong changes. I don't think it's a good changes at all. That is why this image that you can see on your face of our beloved Gandavani and Sendil over there. So first thing that they have said, where any information is flagged off as per risk management strategy formulated by CBDT. CBDT sitting in Delhi, they will formulate something. They will say this is the risk management strategy. For all of these cases, you have to reopen. Now, suppose CBDT decides, sir, all real estate developers are doing some fraud. I think a lot of cash transactions are happening. All real estate cases, you must reopen. We have information, you must reopen. Now, if you ask that assessing officer what that information is, he will not give you the information. Earlier, he had to give you the information. The information was false. The entire reopening is gone. Now, when you ask that assessing officer for the information, he will not share the information. He will say, see, CBDT have flagged it. So whether your developer is an honest person or not, I have to reopen. It is a risk management strategy given to us by CBDT. So the information is no longer shared other than the fact that strategy is telling us, sir, so we are reopening. Other two things, okay. Objection by C and AG. Other government authorities are telling, for example, now in your 26 AS, you have your GST returns, whatever is your income offered as per GST returns comes in your 26 AS. But when it comes to your income tax return, suppose I'm offering only 3 lakhs, GST return is showing 30 lakhs, then I have, naturally they will reopen saying, sir, why you offered only 3 lakhs of sales as per GST return 30 lakhs, then you have to justify. So that is a completely understandable reason. But where information is flagged off as per risk management strategy is really no comments. It is a simply very, very harsh change which they have brought about under the new provisions of the reopening of assessment. Now, sir, very, very interesting. What about search and survey cases? Because they have called the search and survey cases as deemed information. Earlier, we are all aware. Search cases means what will happen? They'll reopen the current year plus 6 as previous assessment years. So totally 7 assessment years will be reopened. Now, one beneficial change is that entire 153A has now been removed for all searches conducted up to 31st March 2021. The old procedure of reopening up to 6 years along with the current year will be done. That is why on 31st March, so many raids happened. So many raids happened. I don't know how it was in Tirupur, but in Chennai, Coimbatore, there were numerous hundreds of raids which were done on 31st March so that they do not miss reopening up to 6 years. Because after 31st March 2021, any raid that takes place, whether it is a proper raid survey or not, they can reopen up to maximum of 3 years only. Current year plus 3 previous years. So totally 4 years only they can maximum reopen, whereas previously 7 years they were allowed to reopen. So now one beneficial changes, they can reopen only maximum up to 3 years. But if it is coming under search, survey, asset seized, where I'm raiding another person, I come to seize an asset of yours over there. I'm raiding another person, I get your books of accounts in his house. Then in those cases, I do not have to issue a notice under section 148. I don't have to comply with the 148A conditions that I prescribe to you. It is adequate if I straight away get into the assessment itself. It is considered to be a deemed information. It is considered to be deemed information. Now, this is a very interesting change because under the existing conditions, even though search happens, even though Panchanama, all the details, whatever he has seized, you are aware of, even though some cases you know what additions are going to be made, they will issue a notice under section 148 read with 153A. You will file a return in response. So if you want, you can offer income also there. You can offer that income. That way you can avoid any additional tax. You can avoid any additional penalties. All of these are beneficial provisions that you can take advantage of even in such cases. But now under the new scheme, 148A need not be complied with. So you may not even get a notice. Why I'm saying may? I am saying may because they have not given us clarity on this. Whether in these cases we will be given another opportunity to file a return or not. We don't know, sir. Still, I don't think we'll be given another other opportunity if you look at the wordings of it. But my dear friends, this, in my view, is one of the most strongest changes in the reopening. Now, while our Honorable Finance Minister was reading the budget, she said, we are reducing the reopening period to 3 years. Only in exceptional cases, you can go up to 10 years. Now, that exceptional cases, you have to see very, very strongly. Because what is the exceptional case? Because earlier, they could reopen up to 6 years only. Worst case scenario, I can reopen only up to 6 years in my case. They cannot reopen beyond. But now they can reopen up to 10 years if certain conditions are satisfied. What are these conditions? An assessing officer can reopen up to 10 years from the end of the relevant assessment year if he has in his possession any books of accounts, documents, or evidence which reveal that the income chargeable to tax, look at this point, represented in the form of an asset, which has escaped assessment to an amount or likely escape an amount of rupees 50 lakhs or more for each year. So they are saying for each year, the amount that should have escaped should be 50 lakhs, 1. 2, income or evidence or documents should be available in the possession of the assessing officer. He cannot say, sir, I will get the documents tomorrow. When he reopens itself, he should have the proof. But this point is very, very interesting. There are 2 points are very, very interesting. 1 point, represented in the form of an asset. Sir, what do they mean by represented in the form of an asset? Isn't it understood that form of an asset only it will be represented? Either immovable property, gold, jewelry, it will be loans and advances, cash deposits, could be anything. All of these are assets, sir. So therefore, what do they mean by represented in the form of an asset? Sir, now there are 2 views in this. One view is, you are all aware that very recently the government have been putting a lot of notional taxation. Whether you are a real estate developer or you take section 50C, what does section 50C say? Real consideration received by me is 40 lakhs. Guideline value is 50 lakhs. I have to offer 50 lakhs under my 50C as per section 50C under sale consideration. Suppose the differential is more than 50 lakhs. Suppose I am offering only 40 lakhs. I have received only 40 lakhs. But 50C is saying the amount is 1 crore. So as per 50C, I have to offer 1 crore, difference is 60 lakhs. Then they can reopen up to 10 years. Not only that, they are saying it should be represented in the form of an asset. Sir, when there is a notional consideration, there is no asset. There is no form of asset there. So in those cases, they cannot reopen. Now that is one view. That is the positive view. That is the way that we all want to see as an auditor. But the negative view, my dear friends, your assessee 20 years back has been having some unoffered, some income which is not chargeable to tax. He has been earning that income year on year. Then in 2013, that gentleman with all of this income, which he has not offered to tax, maybe 25 lakhs per year he was earning, together he aggregates it, he has got around 3 crores now. By the 3 crores, he purchases a property for himself. Now this 3 crores goes beyond rupees 50 lakhs, my dear friends. So the information the assessee has in his, the assessing officer has in his hand is that you have purchased an asset with unexplained income for more than 50 lakhs. It is within 10 years. So he can reopen. Is it in the form of an asset? Yes, it is in the form of a property. So I can reopen it. My dear friends, it can be convoluted in any way that is favorable to department, how it is worded currently. Unfortunately, these provisions are not yet litigated. They are not yet litigated. So department will take a stand that yes, you must see the value of the asset. We will say you have to look only at the income. The income during that year is only 25 lakhs. The balance income is all very old, beyond 10 years. You cannot reopen anyway. Assessing officer will say, sir, property value 2.5 crores, sir. You have to pay. It is more than 50 lakhs. So that is how they will reopen. Sir, one more point. Any law must be worded clearly. Any law must be worded clearly. Look at how this law is worded. Any income which is chargeable to tax represented in the form of an asset which has escaped assessment to an amount or likely to be an amount of rupees 50 lakhs or more. Sir, what is likely to be an amount? What do you mean by likely to be an amount? If a assessing officer says, I think he has purchased a property worth 2.5 crores. Once he does the reopening of assessment, you will find only 2 lakhs is there. Can he make an addition of 2 lakhs or does it have to exceed 50 lakhs? Because he could not find that property he purchased for 2.5 crores. Sir, புலி இருக்குன்னு நினைச்சிட்டு பூனை தான் சார் பார்த்தேன் இருந்தாலும் it is satisfied. Is that what they are saying? So now it is very clear as per the wording that it is not a requirement for it to be beyond 50 lakhs or more. It is enough if they say it is likely to be more than 50 lakhs. Sir, are you sure it is beyond 50 lakhs? எனக்கு என்ன தோன்றது சார் 50 lakhs மேல தான் இருக்கும். இருக்கா இல்லையான்னு தெரியாது, but I have a feeling that it will likely be more than 50 lakhs. Very, very horrible wording this is, because law should not be ambiguous, my dear friends. Law should be clear. Law should be clear, because how will I appeal it? If he reopens it and he finds to make an addition of only 48 lakhs, is that a valid addition? Because it is likely to be 50 lakhs or more. It is not 50 lakhs, but for reopening it is enough if he expects it to be likely more than 50 lakhs. Likely is highly subjective and it is highly wrong. It is very poorly worded and this must be changed. It is something that I am making a representation for. But as it stands, almost for any assessee, they can open up to 10 years simply saying that it is likely to be more than 10 lakhs. It is likely to be more than 50 lakhs. Highly unfair, my dear friends, but this is how the entire reopening of assessment is worded. This is exactly how it is worded. So therefore, please note, all your reopening notices that you are getting currently, pertain to the erstwhile law. It all pertains to the erstwhile law. It does not pertain to the current law. So my request to all of you, as I told you, if you have got time barred notices, even though the dates are extended, please raise a response. Please check who is the approving authority, whether the satisfying authority has authorized the reopening of assessment. Even if they say it is there in the file or not, you please raise an issue when you are filing a letter. Now, my dear friends, we are already at 6:30. I want to take questions. So I have covered a lot of aspects in this presentation, but I am going to conclude with the final side saying that what should you and I do under this faceless assessment and reopening assessment era? First thing, as I already told you, update your contact details, email and mobile number because of the communication. Second, get good scanning equipment for your office. This might sound funny, but the quality of your scanning, everything has to be good, because everything is based on what you are uploading only. So only if it is clear, they will accept it. So quality of your scanning equipment should be better. Third one, this is very, very important. Improve the quality of your drafting and presentation of submissions. My dear friends, today all your submissions are no longer going to be done under face value. That entire face value concept is gone. In fact, there are many professionals, what do you call TRAs, tax return preparers. All of these people used to go and appear before the assessing officer because they had a relationship, they had a face value, and they could go and explain the case very better in person. Now those days are all gone. quality of drafting of your submissions is extremely important. It's only based on this that the assessment order is going to be passed. So therefore, improving the quality of drafting and submissions is priority. And I'll tell you why. Now, this is a very interesting part because I know it is unfair to expect professionals to one day be an expert in face-to-face explanation, to have a relationship, and tomorrow to wake up and suddenly become experts in drafting. You cannot simply wake up one day because they changed the law. You cannot become an expert in drafting. If you cannot become an expert in drafting, my dear friends, it is an opportunity for you to refer the case to someone who is an expert. Because let me tell you, my dear friends, the faceless assessment, they are being completely brutal. The orders they are being passed are very, very harsh. So if you cannot explain your points clearly, if you don't know the law, you don't know how to draft, you don't know how to present the case, you don't know how to give case laws, you don't know how to fight the case, then the client will suffer. Because earlier, in fact, there used to be a fear from the side of the auditor to refer the case, because if I refer it to this person, this assessing officer knows this auditor very well, he knows this advocate very well. So he will say, and the person represent panna solunga, we will take care. So because of that, you were forced to refer the case to someone, but you were scared because the file will be lost. You may lose the case, you may lose the client. All of those fears are there. But today, my dear friends, we are in a faceless era. Whether you are referring to an auditor who's in your same area or completely different region or different city, it does not matter. But ultimately, you must refer the case to someone who is capable of doing this job. Because one, if you refer to somebody in some other city, at least your file is protected. You will not lose the client. But not only that, the quality of your drafting has to be good, my dear friends. The orders otherwise will be adverse, and you will be doing a disservice to your client. You will be doing a disservice to your client if you do not advise properly. So take it up seriously. Either improve the quality of your drafting or find a way. It's an opportunity for you to network beyond your city, find new persons, refer the case to them, they can handle your case. But ultimately, we must do justice to our clients. The next point I don't have to say, but it's an important point. Prepare and submit prompt responses to all your notices. If they say 10:59 a.m., that means 11 a.m. if you submit, it will not be accepted. Today it is a computerized world. Earlier, before your physical officer, he will give a hearing at this time. I will still go the next day morning. He will still accept it. He will backdate it for me. He will accept it on the next day. Everything was possible. But under faceless era, it is computerized completely. So if they put a cutoff date, if they put a cutoff time, please ensure you submit by that cutoff date or time. Otherwise, they will treat it to be an invalid response. They will not even accept your response. Sometimes the computer itself will not accept it. Sometimes it will accept and the assessing officer will choose not to consider it. But please ensure prompt responses to all notices. Now, with our lobbying, we have got an adjournment box which has been allotted. So you have a seek adjournment button. You click on that button. In fact, it is there in the PPT. Due to want of time, I did not cover that. But if you click on that seek adjournment button, up to 2 weeks, you can take an adjournment. Beyond 2 weeks, you cannot. Maximum of 15 days. Maximum of 15 days, you can take an adjournment. Beyond that, if you want, you have to ask for another adjournment. You have to give your reasons why you are asking for an adjournment also. And finally, take up appeals very, very seriously. This is something I've repeatedly been telling our friends in Mufassil areas, is because appeals was not normally considered. Relationship with the officer, he will not levy penalty or he will help us in some other case. All of this was there. So therefore, people did not prefer appeals. Today, under faceless, if you are getting an adverse order, you must 100% fight it out on appeal. If you don't fight it out on appeal, then an adverse order will be passed, demand will be raised on your client, and unfortunately, you will have to pay the entire 100% of the demand. Our appellate authorities are very, very good. And I can tell you by going to ITAT every day, the number of favorable orders passed in favor of the assessee is very high. It is very high. Luckily, the ITAT authorities or even CIT appeals in many cases, they are reasonable. They are very reasonable. So the likelihood of you getting a favorable order is very, very high if you go on an appeal. If you don't go on an appeal, then the horrible faceless assessment order will subsist and you'll have to pay 100% of the demand. There is no longer a concept of relationship. There is no longer a concept of penalty will be levied by some other person. Today, along with your assessment order, you are getting your penalty notice also. So therefore, ensure if an adverse order comes, if you think it's a valid case for appeal, please fight it out on appeal. Whether if you think it is valid or not, at least a person who's experienced will know how to raise technical points, etc. So definitely take it as a new line of practice and start going on appeals against your adverse orders. My dear friends, it is already 6:30. I have got a lot of case laws in this presentation. Many case laws are there. In fact, a lot of new case laws I have added, recent case laws. I'll be happy to share this PPT with you, but due to want of time, I'm not going to do that. But I have shared my mobile number, my WhatsApp number is also there. Request you to please drop me a message in WhatsApp. I will share it with you. I will share regular updates also with you, and we can keep in touch. So thank you so much to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to address the members of the Tirupur branch. So, Sindhil sir or Chairman sir, can we take questions now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, we can take it, sir.
Okay.
Sir, there is a question already asked in chat box.
Okay, let me read it out.
Can I read that?
I will read it, sir. It is.
Okay.
Is it possible
sir.
to file rectification against 143(3) order with the assessing officer, whether assessing officer has the right to rectify the order passed in faceless? My dear friends, the power of rectification is still with your jurisdictional officer only. The power of rectification is still with your jurisdictional officer only. Definitely, where you want to go for a rectification, apparent on record, error apparent on record, file it before your physical jurisdictional assessing officer. So go to your physical person, whoever is there, you can go directly face to face, put it in Tapal, have a proof, and you can get it done physically itself.
Sir, kindly explain the time limit for issuing notice once again, sir. That 143 and 148 and completing the assessment by department, which time limit?
Under the new regime or old regime, sir?
Old regime, sir. Now old regime notice came.
Okay. Under the old regime, as I told you, sir, when it comes to reopening of us,
up to which assessment year they may issue, but
sir, up to which year is
sir,
a little dubious question because of this extended date. Now, because of these extended deadline dates, they can reopen up to assessment year 13-14, my dear friends. 13-14 is the last year. 12-13, if they reopen, you can close your eyes and you can go and raise the objection, no problem. But the moment you are getting for up to 13-14 only, there is some confusion. Because when they issue for 13-14, department will say extended date. Assessee will say, sir, one day they are not extending for you. How they'll extend by more than a year and a half, it is unfair. So therefore, my view is very clear. I am telling you, if you get for assessment year 13-14 or before, raise the issue, forget the extended date, etc. Raise the issue, because as per law, reopening can be done from 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. How you will calculate? Assessment year 13-14 means 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year, means 13-14, 31st March 2014 plus 6 you add. 31st March 2020 is the last date. 31st March 31st March 2013 means plus 6, 31st March 2019. So that is how you calculate. Similarly, 4 years also the same. Now, when it comes to the second aspect, I gave you an example of another notice where it was approved by the PCIT. Where there is reopening beyond a period of 4 years, there are 3 conditions. I told you 2 conditions before, because issuance, there are 3 conditions specifically. What are these 3 conditions? First condition, the income escaping assessment should be rupees 1 lakh or more. Today, almost everything will be 1 lakh or more. You forget that condition, it will be satisfied in 95% of the cases. Second condition, the approval of the principal commissioner of income tax must be obtained, or in this case, additional commissioner of income tax must be obtained. How it will be worded is an authority not lower than the commissioner of income tax. That is how it will be worded in the act. Now, what happened? I will tell you in one case. It is a Bombay High Court case. CIT versus Aquatic Remedies. You can note down this case also. CIT versus Aquatic Remedies. In the CIT versus Aquatic Remedies, what happened is the person who has to approve it has to be the additional commissioner of income tax. The person who approved it was the principal commissioner of income tax. Now, assessee told it is an invalid approval. Department said, they said not lower than the additional commissioner. Higher person has only approved. So it is correct. Now, court said, sir, are you saying higher person means anyone higher can keep on approving? That means, does that mean if the principal chief commissioner of income tax approves, it is valid? Tomorrow, if CBDT member approves, it is valid. Chairman of CBDT is even higher. If he approves, it is valid. Then beyond that, finance minister is also there. Despite her busy schedule, she comes for your assessee, she signs and say you can reopen. Does that mean she can reopen? Is it a valid notice? Then later on, you will say president can also give. President will come and sign and he will say you can reopen. When the act says a specific person has to be the approving authority, then only that person can be the approving authority. It cannot be lower, it cannot be higher also. They have to specify who are the specific authorities that can reopen. So that is the second condition. That is why I told you, see who is the approving authority in each of your notices that you are getting, raise an issue. Because tomorrow you don't know, you will not have access to the file. Maybe the right person has approved, but I can tell you from my experience and internal information that I have, in many cases, the correct approvals have not been obtained. They may create the records later, but as it stands, the approvals have not been obtained, my dear friends. Raise the issue. Raise the issue. You will never know at what stage it will be useful for you. So please check that. Now, the third condition, sir, as you had asked, the third condition is where there's a reopening beyond 4 years, there must be a failure on part of the assessee. The assessee should have failed to disclose the correct information, or the assessee has deliberately furnished incorrect information while filing his return of income or during the course of the assessment. My dear friends, only if these three conditions are satisfied, they can reopen beyond a period of 4 years. So therefore, these are the conditions, sir, when it comes to reopening. Now, when it comes to this 4 years, no, what they will tell you is that date is also extended, they will say. So when, for example, in one of the cases where the approving person was put as the range and not the commissioner, the issue they said is that, sir, that date is also extended. When government has extended all due dates, they have extended for 4 years also, date has been extended, so that's 4. That is completely wrong. They already the understanding of that extension, in my view, is wrong. But when they say for 4 years also extended, you can completely write it off. But this is how the department are acting. And why I am telling you all this is, please don't accept it at face value. Please don't accept. You have to raise the issue. When you raise the issue, you will find, you will get a favorable order, because some person in Delhi and Bombay, they will be litigants, they will raise it in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court will give a favorable order to the assessee. But that order will come 2 years later, sir. It will not come now. You have to raise the issue now. You should have the foresight and raise the issue now. That is why I'm telling all of you, please raise the issue now. Sir, does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Now let us come to the next question. Are the
Sir,
present one for? Yes, sir. Shall I read out the next question, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Are the present 148 reopening cases also to be transferred to faceless proceedings after filing a return in response to the notice? Loganathan, sir, as I told you, the procedure is where it comes to giving the reasons, it will be done by a jurisdictional officer. You have to object to the reasons, jurisdictional officer. Giving the disposing of the objections will be done by a jurisdictional officer. After these steps are done, then it will be referred to faceless scheme. So faceless will always come, whether it is current reopening cases or under the new regime also, both will be covered under faceless after the issuance of 143.2 or 142.1 when the assessment proceedings start. The technical part of it will be done by a jurisdictional officer. The assessment part will be done by faceless only. So it will transfer to faceless after the issuance of 143.2 or 142.1. CS Siddharth. Sir, in 143.3 order, NEAC assessment has added the deemed additions. Let us say 20% of expenses in expenses due to non-submission of proper documents by client. Whether such deemed additions will face penalty under section 270A, is it valid? Excellent question, Siddharth. And for the benefit of all, this is the quality of the orders which are being passed under faceless, sir. If you are not giving some information, they are making deemed addition. How they came with 20% in Siddharth's case, I'm sure he doesn't know. I also don't know. Maybe that assessing officer will not know. But they have to make the addition. They have done it. This is what is happening under faceless assessment. Now, to answer your questions, Siddharth, in this case, whether they can go for a penalty under 270A, they can definitely go. They can definitely, because their argument, unfortunately, the 20%, they have no rationale behind it. They have no rationale to raise that 20%. But their point is the 20% is considered to be unexplained income, is what they are saying. How they came with 20% is somebody they have to only explain. But their logic is 20% is unexplained, so they will go for penalty. You, on the other hand, must fight the assessment itself. Please don't fight only the penalties, that go on appeal against the assessment itself, because once you get when there are arbitrary additions made, 20% arbitrary based on what he said 20%. Is there a track record? Has the assessee been doing 20% profit year on year? Why he made this 20%? Nobody knows. So therefore, go on and appeal. Easily you'll win this assessment. You'll easily win the appeal on the assessment. Penalty automatically will be dropped. But whether he can raise a penalty, he can definitely raise a penalty. I think chat box, all the questions have come. Maybe if anybody wants to unmute and ask if they can unmute. Also, if there's any detailed discussions you want to have, you can just leave me a message in WhatsApp or you can call me. We'll be happy to discuss and you can take a case forward. But any more questions, you can unmute and ask or put on chat box also, whichever is coming. So over to the organizers. I think we have covered all the questions.
Okay, Chairman, can we conclude? Yes,
Yes, sir. Members,
there is
any
no other questions.